Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, Jimmy, you're right. Well, Jimmy, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. There might be a pre-net going on, or they're wanting to start a pre-net. I know a lot of nets I check into, that's what they have for a while. So good to talk to you, Jimmy. I'll tell them other guys what happened to you, where you are, and I'll try to come up here occasionally and say hi to you. You have a good evening. And good evening to all them guys out there in Dallas that had to put up with me. And thank you for letting me use your repeater. This is Whiskey 5 Judah Papa. I'll be listening out, Jimmy.
Alrighty, K5 LQD on the big A day.
W5FC.
Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
And it is 9 o'clock. Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin tonight's Skynet? I will take that as a no. This is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray. My name is Tom, and yes, I'll be in that control station again, 2 weeks in a row. I think that's the first time in a very long time. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break very enthusiastically and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? This is a directed net, so please do not transmit without direction from the next net control. That would be me, and stations are reminded to ID at the end of their transmission. This weekly net operates on this frequency with a field tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5SC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topic, astronomy charts. Pictures and all live audio video links are available online. Just go to the club website, which is whiskey5friedchicken.org, w5fc.org right now for a complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome and need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. Let me tell you what those are. We have general announcements. We have Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, where and when you can look through the telescope, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening, was up, space exploration and space history, constellation of the week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and a 73 round. Ooh, that's a lot of stuff. So let's get started. I'll go ahead and take check-ins from anyone out there who is low power short time. If you're one of those, please come now with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from, and let me know if you're low power short time. Although it really doesn't matter. It doesn't give you first dibs on any announcement. So anyone low power short time, please come now.
Whiskey 5, BLT, Bill, Garland. No traffic, low power.
Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Foxtrot Romeo, low power and short time both. And that's JG5 Geopark.
Kilo 5, Mike, Charlie, Delta, Cody and Dallas, low power.
Okay, I picked up 3. I got W5BLT, that's Bill over in Garland, he's low power. I got KG5UFR, I believe he said J, low power and short time, and I got K5MCD, that's Cody, Dallas, low power. Anyone else low power short time, please come now.
This is Whiskey Bravo
Number 4, Mike Foxtrot India, WB4MFI, Ted Dallas, low power, long time.
Okay, we picked up one more. We got WB4MFI. That would be Ted over in Dallas. So any of you who are now checked in, if you have any announcements that you would like to bring to the net now before you fade into the ether, please come with your call. All right, hearing none, let's go to general check-ins. That's just about everybody else. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
Kilo India 5, Juliet, Charlie, Mike, Thomas, Inuit.
Kilo Bravo 5, Delta Mike, Charlie, Brian, and Roanoke.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo, Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Kilo 5, Bravo, Tango, Whiskey. This is Bren at Lake Levant.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Bill and Irving.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas.
November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth.
Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey, John and Coppell.
This is Alpha Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo, Zulu, Whiskey, Jane, Weather.
All right, that's pretty healthy. Let's go ahead and start with that group. I've got KI5JCM, that's Thomas in Euless. KB5DMC, it's Brian in Roanoke. KF5ZBL, Mr. Bill, Farmers Branch. K5BTW, that's Bren in Lake Levant, welcome. N5BB, Bill in Irving. I've got NT5TM, Tony in Dallas. NV5F, Virginia, Fort Worth. KG5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton. K5JDW, John in his summer home in Coppell. AA5AH, Robert in Richardson. KG5BZW, that's Jay near Weatherford. We'll take additional check-in. Please come with your call sign, phonetically, please. Your name and where you're transmitting from.
November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay in Mesquite.
Kilo India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf, Cruz in Arlington.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz. Planet Earth, Mesquite.
We picked up 3 more. I've got N5OF, Clay in Mesquite. KI5KWG, Cruz, he's off tonight in Arlington. Well, he's off every night, but he's actually off from work tonight. KF5JHA, that's Jazz, our resident astronaut or alien or something. He's in Mesquite tonight. All right, let me move over to Echolink. If you're on Echolink and you haven't checked in, you'd like to, please come now with your call sign, phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from, and I will give you extra time over on Echolink.
5 Kilo Tango X-Ray Kelly in Quinlan.
All right, let me go ahead and get who I've got here. I got a couple of text check-ins. Got K5KTX, Miss Kelly in Quinlan, welcome. N5IMS, JJ in Carrollton, I got you. K5KOB, Philip, I think he's over in Crandall, if I remember correctly. I've got you checked in as well. And I'll open it up to anybody who'd like to join us this evening. Please come now with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from.
This is Kilo India 5, Kilo Tango Zulu, Philip, White Rock Creek.
Whiskey 5 Mike Golf Mike in my car.
I picked up 2 more, maybe 3 here. Let me see. I've got KI5KTZ, White Rock Creek, and I froze. Could I get your name, please?
KI5KTZ, Philip.
Thank you, Philip. You know what? What threw me off is the last one I checked in was K5KOB, who is also Philip, and for some reason it just didn't dawn on me there's more than one Philip in the world, so I've got you down. And W5MGM, that's Fred in his car, so I've got you down. Anyone else like to check in? Now's the time.
November 8, Whiskey Romeo, N8WWR, Romy. I'm in Grapevine for the count. Thanks for running that, Tom.
All right, just doing some paperwork here. I got N8, WWR, Romy, Grapevine, and then I've also got KG5 UFR, that's Jake over in Farmers Branch. Yeah, I know you can't see him or hear him, but I see him and hear him, so I got you. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. I'll explain why I'm net control here for a second week in a row in a little bit, but let's go ahead and get started. Do we have any announcements this evening? Any general announcements? It would be ham astronomical space or general interest license ham. If you do have one of those, please come to your call now.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo.
Kilo India 5, Juliet Charlie Mike.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Well, we got a lot here, so let's see here. Let's go with the top there, which would be Bill, N5BB. Bill, what do you got?
Yes, this is N5BB. I'd like to remind everybody that the Irving Ham Fest is 2 weeks from today. It's coming up soon. It's always the first Saturday in March. So this year, in 2023, that would be 2 weeks from today, Saturday, March the 4th. It'll run from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can go to irvingarc.org and look about how to get tickets and check if any other tables are available. I haven't checked to see We usually have tables available till near the end, but I haven't double-checked. If you volunteer for it, you can get a free ticket and a chance to win some prizes. The Hamfest is sponsored by the Irving Amateur Radio Club with help from the Dallas Amateur Radio Club. So if you'd like to volunteer, feel free to go to the website and look at how you can volunteer, irvingarc.org. So that's my first news item. The second one is something that I actually commented on in the on TechNet, the International Science and Engineering Fair. This is the science fair for kids that are pre-college. Involves kids that are in middle school and high school. This is going to be the international for the world competition. The final competition will be in Texas this year. It will be in Dallas. It will be at the Kay Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center in downtown Dallas. And it's coming up here in May the 13th through the 19th. That's Saturday, May the 13th through Friday, May the 19th. You can be a judge if you'd like to be. Go and do a web search for ISEF 2023. That's the International Space Engineering Forum, ISEF 2023. And related to that, the Dallas Regional Science and Engineering Fair, DRSEF, for 2023 was held today, Saturday, at Fair Park in the large Centennial Building. I was a judge. I was there with a judging team of 3 for the National Space Society, and we awarded 3 awards, which will be cash awards to 3 student projects. So that was fun. There's all kinds of really neat student projects that they do for the science fair. It's really cool. So if you want to have fun, volunteer to be some kind of judge for the Dallas Regional Science Fair or the International Science Fair. I think that's it. This is N5BB.
All right, thank you, Bill. Does anyone need any fills? All right, next up is Thomas, KI5JCM. Go ahead.
KI5JCM, well, as the kids say, I'm feeling a little attacked because for some reason the federal government is lobbing Sidewinder missiles at balloons that are ours. Yeah, they've confirmed 2, maybe 3 of the objects recently shot down were actually amateur radio satellites. What have you guys been saying on the air? But in all seriousness, I'd love to, I just want to let people know, and if we could during, later on in the net, talk about what are some better ways we can identify ourselves so this doesn't happen again. KI5JCM, back to net.
Oh, thank you, Thomas. Yeah, I saw that on Friday, and I told some of my coworkers about that since they know in ham. They're shooting down ham radio stuff now, so I thought that was curious. There's an article, I wish I had read up on it. It talks about that. I think it's on NBC News, I think. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I'd go back and look where they'll have a way of identifying. I wish I had read the article. It was one of many that came out on Friday. Friday was a busy news day. All right, next up is Tony, NT5TM. Tony, go ahead.
Good evening, Tom. I'd like to remind everyone that the next Dallas Amateur Radio Club Lecture and Lab is a week from today. More details at w5fc.org. It's going to be a little bit more expensive than our usual project at $60, but it is a kit build. We'll be building an AM/FM radio, which sounds so boring until you realize that the AM part is aviation band, not talk radio. But the aviation band And there are no planes that fly over this area. We live in the middle of nowhere, so obviously we could not possibly enjoy an aviation band receiver. Of course, my sarcasm generator just exploded there because all that was not true. Since I wore out my sarcasm generator, yes, please join us for the lecture and lab. Have a look at w5fc.org. The White Rock Lake Amateur Radio Club is having a fox hunt that starts up again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Please check out wa5wrl.org for more information. This apparently must be an unusual fox sighting placement because there's a lot of hot and cold spots. I have not been able to hear the high-powered fox from any of my usual spots today, so the hunt is on. Let's rise to the challenge. Of course, this is not the last net of the night or of the weekend. We do have an Afterglow movie discussion. I don't actually understand if this is part of a miniseries or a made-for-TV movie, but it's part of the Stargate universe. Stargate Origins, Catherine, not Clementine, that's what I thought it was earlier, but Catherine. Catherine is the actual title, Stargate Origins, Catherine. Made in 2018, will be discussed tonight at about 10:30 on this repeater. I may just have to listen because, frankly, this net is pretty interesting. I don't really want to go watch a movie, but everyone's presenting. We also do have a couple of fun nets coming up tomorrow. We have the meeting on the air at 7 and the Races training net at 8. Everyone, club member or not, is very welcome to participate in the meeting on the air and share what's going on in your ham world. That's this repeater tomorrow at 7. And only Races appointees can check in to the Races net, but everyone is welcome to listen to the training. That's at 8 p.m. on the first and third Sundays, like tomorrow. And finally, if you, like me, and like N5BB, had a conflict this morning and could not go to the Skywarn training in Garland, the first virtual Skywarn training class after today is this Tuesday. So you can make up your overdue homework right away. Go to weather.gov/Fort Worth. That's what I've got, NT5TM. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right, thank you, Tony. Does anybody need any fills on anything Tony mentioned?
KI5 GCM.
Hey, Thomas, go ahead and contact Tony. He's NT5TM direct.
Yeah, Tony, my question was just about the fox hunting. This may sound silly, but given the recent news, there's no chance the federal government is going to lob a missile at the fox, is there? KI5 GCM.
I'm sure you asked that with a smile, but no, the fox is down at ground level and has no Doppler on it. A missile would be a terrible choice, although, I can't say whether or not you're going to meet Mulder and Scully coming through the woods. NT5TM.
All right, anyone else have any questions? All right, very good. I'm looking forward to the lecture in the lab. I'm going to be, I think I can be there on time. I've got to rush all the way from Fort Worth, so that should be interesting. I think I can drive 100 on the expressway there. Old toll road, right? Okay, let's see here. General announcements, we got those. Let's see. The AMSAT stuff, I guess we can talk about that. We do every week anyway. There's AMSAT, or Radio Amateur Satellite Group, with actually 3 nets available in Dallas. 4 Dallas residents. One of them is on Echolink. You'll need it installed and you registered. You'll find it under AMSAT Group, and it's the AMSAT net that comes out of Houston. This is on Tuesday evenings at 8 o'clock. So it's really kind of the home world headquarters for AMSAT. And it's quite interesting, and you get a lot of information on the latest on amateur radio satellites. Dallas, we have 2 local AMSAT nets. We have one called AMSAT Net East. That also is at 8 o'clock, and it's local on this repeater. And and that's with Tom, N5HYP, and he'll give you the lowdown on everything having to do with amateur radio. The only day he is not there is, the only week is first Tuesday of the month, which is DRC Club Night, so that he's at the meeting. There's also a Dallas AMSAT Net West. This one's on the Arlington repeater at 147.140 megahertz with PL 110.9. It's every Wednesday at 9 o'clock. Remember that there's the positive offset when you set your radio. Okay, next up are all the nets that you'll find on this repeater, and there are a bunch of them. I'll go through them quickly. Mondays, there's an alternating bunch of nets starting at 7 o'clock after the traffic net. First week is Ham Fixin's net, where we talk about food and recipes and food techniques. It's actually a lot of fun. As we all know, hams not only like to eat, they also like to cook. Second week is MCOM 101. We can learn about emergency communications. That's also at 7. That would be Kevin, N5KRG, does that net. He does a very good job. You do not have to be a member of any service agency, but if you would like to check in and tell us about what you do, that would be great as well. Third week is the second helping of Ham Fixit at 7. Fourth week is GeekNet. That's Tony, NT5TM. He sponsors that one, talks about all things geeky, going above and, or I wouldn't say above, but beyond ham radio. So we've got computer stuff, any of that. Sometimes there's even a puzzler. He's looking for people to do puzzlers. So if you have a good brain teaser that you would like to bring, that would be the net to do so. And then if there's a fifth week, it's a surprise net. If we told you what it is, it wouldn't be a surprise, but there's audience participation. Tuesdays, I did that. And Fridays, we have Third City. That's at 8 o'clock. Learn about emergency communications via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. That's handled by Melissa, KI5GRH. Come and visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe, Third City, and everyone is welcome to that net. Saturdays is the night of nets. We have TechNet at 7. We have Skynet at 9. And we have the Astro Movie at 10:30, which I'm going to tell you about in just a second. First and third Sundays, Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air, or MODA. You can find out all things having to do with the DARC that sponsors this repeater. And you're also welcome to check in on that net as well. Daily is the ARRL National Traffic System Training Net at 6:30 p.m. That's 7 days a week. You're welcome to check in. It is a training net. You can do no wrong. If you're interested in formalized message handling or being a part of a formalized net, that's a good place to learn. Now, the Afterglow movie net, I will explain a little bit what Tony asked, but as usual, I put out my highly accurate synopses of tonight's movie. It is as follows: a tape, a signed tape to the front. Whoops, let me back up. Whoops. Isn't that interesting? I only copied part of it. Hold on. For some reason, it only copied part of it over, so I had to go to the website. It says that the naughty Nazi looked at the donut thing propped up against the wall. A signed tape to the front said, on sale. Only it was in German because, well, it was German. Well, not really. The Nazi dragged the thing to his staff car, and in the process, he found in the glove box, in the back of the thing, operating instructions and a place to put batteries. What this thing did and why it was a mystery he would have to solve. And that's it. Join us for the Stargate Origins story called Stargate Origins Catherine, with a C, by the way, tonight at 10:30 p.m. And this was a web series that was done, and they put it all together and made a movie out of it. So this was back in 2018, and there was a lot of that going on. They were doing web series for actual TV series that were going on. So this was one of those. So come on by and watch it. Hopefully somebody can explain the plot to me because it got very convoluted to me pretty quick, but not too quick. Okay, let's see here. Next up, let me look and see. We'll just let me mention that Catherine. How about that? You got a movie named after you, KV8DAA. She's over in Addison. She would like a check-in. She's over on Echo Link. I've got you checked in. Next up is the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, when you can look through a telescope. Chaz, K5JHA, I think you volunteered for that, so if you'd like to go ahead and tell us anything about Texas Astronomical Society, please do so now from KE5ITX.
Thank you, Tom. Good evening, everyone. I forgot to check in Bob the cat. Now, he doesn't have a call sign, but if he had one, K1TTY might be a good one for him. Okay. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, February the 24th. That's in 6 days. And the meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. The featured speaker will be John Kelly. This topic will be about the time he had at NASA. Saturday night public observing sessions have begun again. Saturday night Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights, so that there'd be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society public observing sessions. Now, this would be the third Saturday, so I'm not sure if anybody's at Frisco. Third Saturday would be stargazing held at Frisco, but just in case, if there's somebody at Frisco at the stargazing, please come down with your call sign so we can get a report. Oh, I guess that was the case. Now, you can check the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. All right, let me send it back to you, Tom, KE5ICX. I call him Mr. Skynet.
All right, thank you, Chaz. And I just caught out of the corner of my eye, Kelly says the Cedar Hill was canceled tonight. And then JJ asked the whole town. I don't think the whole town was canceled, but now you know the rest of the story. Next up is National Space Society events and activities. That would be Bill, N5BB. Bill, what do you have for us for this week from KE5ITX?
Thank you, Tom. This is N5BB. I happen to be the membership director and member at large of the National Space Society North Texas chapter. As I mentioned earlier, today, National Space Society, 3 of us from our group were judges at the Dallas Regional Science and Engineering Fair at Fair Park in Dallas, judging space-related projects. Our last local meeting was this last Sunday, the 12th of February, and our speaker was virtual. It was Dr. Tanya Rogers, who she's an ISRU, that's In Situ Resource Utilization Test Director at NASA Johnson Space Center in Houston. ISRU is the people that figure out, hey, if we go to the moon, can we get some water from the moon? Can we build rocket fuel in the moon? Can we use the lunar dust to build things? Are we going to have trouble with the lunar dust monkeying up all of our machinery? They figure out what's going to be there when you get there. How are you going to handle it? And so it was a very interesting presentation by her and her group. Our March meeting will be the second Sunday of March, which is going to be March the 12th, Sunday afternoon, at Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving. I believe it'll be a NASA presentation, but I don't know if we've got it verified yet. By NASA, I mean somebody from NASA presenting virtually, I believe, but I'm not sure. Hasn't been verified yet. The big news for the National Space Society is the big event, which is going to be occurring in May. That's the International Space Development Conference. The 2023 one is going to be May 25th to 28th at Embassy Suites by Hilton in Frisco, Texas. That's right, it's going to be local. if you're interested, go to isdc2023.nss.org. So ISDC stands for International Space Development Conference. ISDC2023.nss.org, and learn more. You can, if you want to go to the International Space Development Conference, it costs money. There's, expensive dinners and all this kind of. The dinners are very interesting. They're really nice meals, and they're really important speakers. People who are big in the space industry that are planning for what we're going to do on the moon and Mars, and hotels in space, and new space launch systems and all that kind of stuff. So what's going to happen to the ISS in a few years when they decommission it? Those are the kind of people that forward-looking people that typically are speakers at this. And there's a lot of different sessions you can go to for those days. So it'll be really exciting. If you want to go to it, you can get a discount for going for tickets for the signing up for the ISDC by becoming a National Space Society member. Go to nss.org, and you can, or just do a web search for National Space Society, and you can learn how you can sign up for National Space Society. If you sign up to be a new National Space Society member, then if you let me know, if you forward your new membership welcome email to me, I will give you a free one-year membership in our local chapter of National Space Society. So to reach me, you can reach me at space@byram.net. That's SPACE at BYROM.net, or N5BB, that's November 5 Bravo Bravo, at ARRL.net. If you have any questions about National Space Society or local chapter, please contact me. We're also going to have some events coming up, and before I forget here, the next event coming up will be next week on Saturday, the 25th of February. This is Engineers Week at the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History. This is in the Museum District in Fort Worth, 1600 Gindy Street, Fort Worth. We've done a number of different activities there, and this time we're going to be right at the entrance to the Noble Planetarium on the second level above the cafeteria. So if you want to have fun at the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History, go there next Saturday, February 25th, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and you can see the National Space Society, our tables there, and learn about us, as well as all kinds of other stuff at the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History. Lots of fun there. Come and visit. Also, we're going to be presenting, our president of our group, Ken Ruffin, is going to present about the future of NASA and commercial spaceflight. He's going to be doing that presentation from 2 to 3 p.m. there at the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History a week from today. If you've never been to the museum, it's a really cool science museum. Okay, that's all I've got. Again, let me know if you have any questions about these topics. This is N5BB, back to the net.
All right, thank you, Bill. Does anyone need any fills? Okay, well, let's continue here. First off, I just want to say I am net control second time in a week. Is normally through Brenda, WB50ZL. She was taken ill and went to the hospital, had surgery. She is out. She is doing fine. And let's see if we get her back here maybe hopefully next week in some capacity. capacity. So I just go ahead and take over Skynet for this evening and all of the sections that she does. She's a significant contributor. So you're going to hear mostly me this evening, but not exclusively, but mostly me. So we look forward to her recovery. And I talked to her just briefly this evening, so she's still kind of groggy from the drugs, and she seems pretty good and is in good spirits. I'm going to go see her sometime tomorrow and see how she's doing. So I'll keep you informed as you're over on Facebook. Okay, so because I'm net control, I get to pick the topic. Well, I had to pick something fairly quickly. So what I did was I found another article. This came from Space and Beyond Box website. I didn't even know it existed, such a thing, but it is kind of cool. Has a lot of interesting topics having to do with astronomy and space. So I cribbed off of that. And this one is called 4 of the Weirdest Objects in Space. Some of these we've talked about in the past, but definitely is of some interest. I also have some pictures up there as well, cribbed from the website, or you can go there directly. Just Google Space and Above Box and 4 Weirdest Objects, and you will find it. So this is what the article says. The universe is filled with bizarre objects. Then again, Earth is all we know. So what may seem wild and exotic to us is likely common throughout the cosmos, but that doesn't take away from the fact that space is filled with many mysterious oddities that astronomers are just beginning to discover and unravel. So, without further ado, here is a list of just 4 of many contenders for the weirdest objects in the universe. Until recently, black holes seemed to come in only 2 sizes, either small remnants of collapsed stars or gargantuan beasts with masses of millions or even billions of suns. Only recently did astronomers confirm the existence of intermediate mass black holes, but still, most black holes we observe are either petite or giant. An example of the latter sits in the center of every galaxy, including the Milky Way. So while the supermassive black holes in many other galaxies radiate X-rays or violently spew huge jets of material, ours is strangely quiet. Too quiet, in fact, as if we're hosting a sleeping monster. Not that our galactic nucleus is a total mystery. While we cannot visually see what's going on some 27,000 light years away because it's hidden behind an impenetrable sheet of dusty gas, other wavelengths of light still leak out. Radio telescopes long ago detected an intense emission there named Sagittarius A. The black hole, deeply buried within that radio noise, received the peculiar name Sagittarius A, or SGRA, which is pronounced Sagittarius A star. Now I know what the little asterisk thing is. Sagittarius A star. Sagittarius A star weighs about 4 million solar masses, which is less heavy than what lurks within the cores of most galaxies. Still, that much mass is impressively crammed into a spherical volume the radius of less than 13 million miles, half of Mercury's orbit. As to the actual nature of this ultra-crushed singularity, or even whether some unknown process has halted its shrinkage and prevented it from attaining zero volume, no one knows. Our physics fails. Next up is the Forbidden Planet. What was the first planet found beyond our solar system? Astro geeks usually cite the discovery of the Jupiter-massed planet circling the naked-eye star 51 Pegasi in 1995, but the truth is far stranger. 3 years earlier, astronomers Alexander Woltensen and Dale Frail announced they had found not 1 but 2 planets, and these orbited the oddest kind of star in the universe, a millisecond pulsar. Its name is Pulsar B1257 plus 12, and it lies in the constellation Virgo the Virgin at a distance of 980 light years. It spins 161 times a second, and like all pulsars, it is a neutron star, the smallest and densest visible object in the universe. No telescope was used in the discovery, at least not one that gathers visible light. Instead, the huge Arecibo radio telescope in Puerto Rico, with its 1,000-foot collecting area, carefully monitored radio signals from the pulsars. Sadly, Arecibo recently catastrophically collapsed following 2 cable failures in the past several months. Well, it's an older article, so here you go. Electromagnetic energy streaming away from the magnetic poles sweeps around like a lighthouse beam, producing radio flashes with each rotation. These super-collapsed neutron stars are always less than 20 miles wide, with a wild amusement park spins of dozens or even hundreds of rotations per second. Next is the Higgs object. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Galaxies are the largest things in the universe. Happily for us, they come in only a few varieties, making them easier to identify and theorize about. Nearly all are either elliptical, ball-shaped, irregular, or else spirals of various kinds, but a handful of oddballs fit none of these categories, and one galaxy stands out all by itself. In 1950, astronomer Arthur Higgs came upon a tiny, faint 16th magnitude ring surrounding a ball-like center and reasonably assumed it was a planetary nebula, a nearby puff of gas expelled from a single old-age star. However, later spectroscopic studies showed it was not. Higgs also thought it possible that this object was some sort of peculiar galaxy. And as if to prove that if you make enough guesses, you'll increase your chance of success, his last surmise was correct. In 2002, the ultra-sharp optics of the Hubble Space Telescope revealed Higgs' object, as it is now called, was a perfect blue ring of stars, dust, and gas, complete with knotty clumps that are unresolved star clusters. In other words, yes, this is a galaxy. The problem, of course, is that Higgs' object does not assume the familiar spiral pattern, with arms wending their way inward and out and to the older, yellower stars that make up nearly every galaxy's nucleus. Instead, the nucleus sits all by itself in space, a whopping 70,000 light-years away from it, separated by near nothingness, hovers the ring of billions of stars, planets, and who knows what else. Higgs' object lies 600 million light-years away from us in the constellation Steepens Kaput, and near rear half of the writhing, which is the rear half of the writhing snake in Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer. Its inner yellow core is 24,000 light-years across, almost the same as the core of the Milky Way. The outer ring of Higgs' object is with a width of 120,000 light-years, is similar in size to our galaxy's diameter. It's almost as if some benevolent alien starship vacuumed up the middle sections of the galaxy, but bewilderingly spared both the center and the outermost region. Next up is the firmament filler. In November 2010, astronomers using NASA's Fermi Gamma Ray Space Telescope announced an astonishing discovery. Emanating from the center of our Milky Way galaxy are 2 bubbles made solely of powerful gamma rays. This would have been strange enough if the bubbles, expanding at 2.2 million miles per hour, were concentric and centered on the galaxy's core. But no, the 2 enormous spheres each hover in seemingly empty space above and below the black hole Sagittarius A star in the Milky Way's nucleus. The bubbles are tangent to each other, touching at the galactic center to form a squat, hourless shape. The entire structure looks like the number 8, or a sideways infinity symbol. With all the weird and wild objects in space, it's impossible to pinpoint exactly which ones are the most bizarre. And thanks to astronomers' tireless efforts, we surely learn of even more exotic cosmic objects in the future, one that could potentially shake up our understanding of the universe forever. So there you have it, just 4 of the many hundreds, maybe thousands of objects that cannot be explained in space that astronomers have stumbled upon through the millennia. So that's it there. Does anyone have any questions? I'm not sure I can answer any, but I can try. If you have questions, please someone will call now.
KI5 JCM.
KI5JCM. Thomas, go ahead.
Well, my question isn't so much about what you mentioned, but what you didn't. Are you familiar with white holes?
I am not. Would you like to tell us about them?
It would very much be my pleasure. We're not sure if they definitely exist, but scientists have observed something that it appears very much on radio telescopes to look like a black hole, but it's backward. It's spewing matter and time back into the universe. Their existence hasn't 100% been, it's not as strong evidence as a black hole, but what's really interesting is this would perfectly marry Einsteinian and Newtonian physics in terms of for every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction, i.e. for the black hole that's sucking things out of the universe, there's something spewing it back in, proving information, matter, and energy cannot be destroyed, it can only be converted. Let me reset. And some scientists have actually wondered if this could be an Einstein-Rosen bridge. If perhaps for every black hole, there is an equal white hole. I mean, it could even be some kind of conduit or wormhole. We don't know, but it's just one of those things we can't explain that is fascinating, and its implications are kind of staggering in terms of both complex and simplicity. KI5JCM, back to net control.
All right, well, thank you, Thomas. I frantically Googled that and put up on the stream a white hole, possible evolution of the thing. It sounds very interesting, and it kind of makes sense in a way because of what you just said. Does anyone have any comments about white holes that they want to add on to what Thomas just mentioned? All right, hearing none, that's okay. I tell you what, I'm going to write that down as potential topics for a future Skynet. I think that is an excellent topic. I had not heard of it, and maybe I should have, but I did not. I think this is really fascinating. Thomas, so now keep that in mind. By the way, if you'd like to do a presentation, and I don't limit this to Thomas, this could be anybody, and we've had other folks do presentations, anything that you're passionate about astronomy that you know something about or you would like others to know about, by all means, send me an email, and we'll put it in or mention on the Facebook, which is the ARC Skynet, that you're interested in a topic and you'd like to present. We've done it before, we'll do it again, and we continue to do it. By the way, well, I'll leave this to Chaz when it's his turn because he has something to tell us this evening that's important. But excellent topic. Thanks very much, Thomas. I'm going to go ahead and ask if there's additional check-ins before we continue on. If you'd like to join us this evening and have not done so already, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
Kilo India 5, Uniform Juliet, Dustin, in Dallas.
Okay, we picked up an additional person. We've got Dustin, KI5UUJ, over in Dallas. Welcome back, Dustin. All right, next up is Chaz, because he knows what's up. So, Chaz, KI5JHA, the net is yours.
Why, thank you so much. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the next couple of weeks. Slide master, that would be Tom. Slide number 2, please. We have just completed our 11th year of Skynet, and we've just started our 12th year. It was Tom General's idea to have a net on astronomy. Tom had heard that there had been a net about astronomy in the past, but it had faded away, and I'm still trying to do research on that earlier net. If any of you out there have any information on that earlier astronomy net, please let me know. Slide Master, slide number 3. I received my ham license on December the 14th, 2010, and I attended my first DARC meeting shortly thereafter on January the 4th, 2011. I remember that Tom General was the president of DARC at the time, and when my membership app came up for a vote, I had listed being an astronomer. Tom said he wanted to talk to me after the meeting about an idea he had. The idea was to create a net on astronomy. I had no idea what that was, but he needed somebody like me to be involved. So I said, okay, not knowing what I was getting myself into. Slide Master, slide number 4. Over the course of that year, Tom and I talked and we emailed each other, and an outline was created for the net, only 3 pages in length, and some links on a 4th page. I still have a copy of that first night's Skynet script. We decided that Saturday night would be a good time for the net since the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas had observing sessions on Saturdays, and we might be able to get some live reports over the air from the observing sessions. Slide Master, slide number 5. Now, most of you understand that I use double meanings on words to my advantage for jokes and puns, so I suggested the name Skynet. If you don't know where that name Skynet came from, you can just Google it and see what Wikipedia has to say. The beginning of 2012 was our first Skynet, and we had a few hams that signed into the net. If I remember, we had several questions that I answered, but Tom was net control, and he did the heavy lifting. With Tom's encouragement, a couple of months later, I was the first time I was net control on Skynet. Okay, enough of that history. Slide Master, slide number 6, please. On February 13th was the third quarter phase of the moon. So the current phase of the moon is a waning crescent. On February 19th, the moon is at Hare G, which is a point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 358,267 kilometers. On February the 20th is when new moon occurs. On February 27th is when the first quarter phase of the moon occurs. On March the 3rd is when the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 405,889 kilometers. On March the 7th is full moon, and the third quarter moon will be on March the 14th. Slide Master, slide number 7, please. So Comet C2022 E3 ZTF is still within the range of maybe binoculars, if not telescopes, in very dark skies. It was discovered back in March of 2022, the Zwicky Transient Facility. Currently, it's an estimated magnitude of 7.7. The video portion of Skynet has an image taken on February 16th. It's also, there's a finder chart there, too. Tonight, right now, the comet is located between the constellations of Orion and Taurus. I've been unable to see the comet from inside the city using binoculars. My friend Dennis Harwell observed the comet a couple of weeks ago from very dark sky sight using binoculars. Search for Comet 2022 E3, and you should find lots more information about it. This will probably be the last time I talk about this since it's getting fainter and fainter. Slide Masters, slide number 8, please. This morning on February 18th, it was cloudy, but the moon was around 6 degrees away from the planet Mercury in the very low east-southeastern morning sky. Binoculars would have been needed to see both of them in the strong twilight. Slide number 9, please. On February 21st, in a few days, the moon is in conjunction with the planet Neptune in the evening southwestern sky. Venus is just above this conjunction. The very next evening on February 22nd, this is slide number 10, please, the moon and Jupiter are in conjunction in the west-southwestern sky. And if you look tonight outside in between clouds, you could have seen Jupiter and Venus. Venus was lower than Jupiter in the western sky. It was a beautiful sight through the clouds anyway. Slide number 11. A few days later, on February the 27th, the Moon and Mars will be in conjunction high, almost overhead in the evening sky. Slide number 12. March the 1st is when we get a very rare and close conjunction of the two brightest planets, Jupiter and Venus. In a telescope, you'll be able to see both of them in the same field of view. This will be a spectacular sight to the unaided eye, as well as binoculars and telescopes, and I hope it's clear that night. You're going to be able to see the moons of Jupiter and Venus all in the same field of view. Should be pretty interesting to see. Slide master, slide number 13. A few hours later in the early morning southeastern sky on March the 2nd, Saturn and Mercury will be in conjunction. You'll need a pair of binoculars to see both of them in the strong morning twilight. Oops, Bob the cat didn't like me talking so much, so he has left the computer area. Slide master, slide number 14. So have you tried looking for the star Canopus? Last week I challenged you to find Canopus very low in the southern sky around 10 p.m. Look about 35 degrees below Sirius to find it. Sirius is the brightest star in the sky. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 15, please. Once again, the TASS Club meeting will be on Friday, February the 24th at 7:30 p.m. at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. The featured speaker is John Kelly, and his topic is going to be about his time at NASA. And remember that TASS has public observing sessions. Go to their website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about the public observing sessions as well as the meetings. Slide master, slide number 16. Now, do any of you out there in Radioland have any questions or need a fill on any of the information I've talked about? Or do you just have a general astronomy question? Come now with your call sign if you have a question. Oh, I was so looking forward to a question. Slide master, slide number 17. So as the moon wanes right now, so do these words for the segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. The only one where humans live right now, and until next time, actually I'll be doing another segment on Skynet. I guess it's the Tom and Chaz show tonight. Keep looking up so you know what's up, and this is KF5, JHA Vector, and Net Control, KE5, ICX.
All right, well, thank you, Chaz. And this is KE5ICX, and I'm Net Control and lots of other things. And it is the Tom and Chaz show tonight. So be nice to me. I'm going to lose my voice before this is all over. And by the way, if you're on the Afterglow Movie Nest this evening, you might want to be Net Control because I may not be able to speak by then. But at any rate, let's move on to section number 6. This is space exploration and space history. And I've got a few items here. This is the space exploration news. And the first private launcher space tug fails after launching on a SpaceX rocket. A startup company called Launcher has said its first spacecraft, which launched on a SpaceX rocket last month, has failed. The Launcher Orbiter SN-1, the company's first spacecraft, launched on a SpaceX Transporter 6 mission, which took off from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida last month, carrying 114 satellites to orbit. The second most spacecraft ever launched on a single mission. The Transporter 6 was SpaceX 200th flight and deployed a wide variety of payloads, including the Space Force Weather CubeSat and a prototype solar sail designed by French firm Gamma. At least one of the mission's payloads has now been confirmed to have failed. In a statement published Thursday, which would have been February 16th, Launcher said that its Orbiter SN-1 rocket spacecraft stopped operating due to a loss of power and control. Unfortunately, after that time period, the vehicle stopped operating as we were not able to generate power from our solar panels due to an orientation issue caused by a fault in the GPS antenna system, Launcher said in a statement. There we go. Next up is the James Webb Telescope. A galaxy called GS9209 quenched its star formation more than 12.5 billion years ago, research report from January 26th at airvid.org. There's only a little more than 1 billion stars after the Big Bang. Existence reveals new details about how galaxies live and die across the cosmic line. It's a remarkable discovery, says astronomer Mario Giavalicio of the University of Massachusetts Amherst, who was not involved in the new study. We really want to know when the conditions are ripe to make quenching a widespread phenomenon in the universe. The study shows that at least some galaxies quenched when the universe was young. GS 9209 was first noticed in the early 2000s. In the last few years, observations with ground-based telescopes identified as possible quenched galaxies based on the wavelengths of the light it emits. But the Earth's atmosphere absorbs the infrared wavelengths that could confirm the galaxy's distance and its star-forming days were behind it. So it was impossible to know for sure. So astrophysicist Adam Carnell and colleagues turned to the Webb Space Telescope. The observatory is very sensitive to infrared light, and it's above the blockade of Earth's atmosphere. This is why JWST exists. It also has much greater sensitivity than earlier telescopes, letting it see fainter, more distant galaxies. While the largest telescopes are on the ground, could maybe see GS 9209 in detail after a month of observing, the JWST can pick this stuff up in a matter of hours. They found that GS 9209 formed most of its stars during the 200 million year period, starting with 600 million years after the Big Bang. That's cosmologically a brief period, but built about 40 billion solar masses worth of stars, about the same as Milky Way has. Astronomers used to think this mode of galaxy formation, called monolithic collapse, was the way that most galaxies form, but the idea has fallen out of favor, replaced by the notion that large galaxies form from the slow merging of many smaller ones. Now it looks like, at least for this object, monolithic collapse is what happened. This is probably the clearest proof yet that kind of galaxy evolution happened. And the Kuiper Belt dwarf planet Quantor hosts an impossible ring. The dwarf planet Quantor has a ring that is too big for its metaphorical fingers, while other rings of the solar system lie within near mathematically determined distance of the planet's parent bodies. The ring is much further out. For a Quantor, for a ring to be outside this limit is very, very strange, says astronomer Bruno Magato of the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. Finding was a force that rethink of the rules governing planetary rings. Quantor is an icy body about half the size of Pluto that's located in the Kuiper Belt, the solar system's edge. At such a great distance from Earth, it's hard to get a clear picture of the world. So colleagues watch Quantor block the light from a distant star, a phenomenon called stellar occultation. Timing of the star winking in and out can reveal details about the planet or protoplanet. This is its size and whether it has an atmosphere. It took data from observations in 2018 and 20 and observed over the years Zambia, Australia, and Grenada, as well as space. Okay, I'm going to skip this next article. I'm starting to lose it already. Space history. We have STS-82, the Hubble Space Services mission, the 22nd flight of the Space Shuttle, and 82nd mission of the Space Shuttle program. This was on February 11, 1997. Repaired and upgraded the telescope's scientific instruments. On February 11, 2000, STS-99 launched. This was the STRM antenna deployment, I should say, using Endeavour. This was for the Shuttle Radar Topography mission. This was also the last solo flight of Endeavour. All future flights for Endeavour became devoted to the International Space Station. Also, STS-99 was the first shuttle mission of the 2000 On February 12, 1961, Venera 1 launched, the first spacecraft to fly to Venus. It was launched, let's see here, 7 days after launch, at a distance about 2 million kilometers from Earth, contact with the spacecraft was lost on May 19th and 20th in 61. Venera passed within 100,000 kilometers of Venus and entered a heliocentric orbit. Failure resulted in only a follow objectives being met, and that was setting space objects on an interplanetary course, check for extra long-range communications, and so on. You see. Let me go to February 14, 1972, the Luna 20 lands on the moon. This was at Mare you say that. Luna 20 was placed in an immediate parts in orbit from there and sent towards the moon. It entered lunar orbit and on the moon and soft landed on Luna 20. Soft landed on the moon, known as Apollonius Highland. Luna 18 had crashed while on the lunar surface. Panoramic camera system was operated. Lunar samples were obtained by means of an extendable drilling apparatus. The ascent stage of Luna 20 was launched from the lunar surface, carrying 30 grams of collected lunar samples in a sealed capsule. It landed in the Soviet Union on February 25, 1972. On February 17, 1965, Ranger 8 was launched. It returned 7,137 photos before the lunar impact. Launched on an Atlas Agena B booster, injected into an Earth parking orbit, and then 7 minutes later after launch. 14 minutes after that, 90-minute burn, put the spacecraft on the lunar trajectory. And here's a good one that is interesting. On February 17, 1973, Manned Spacecraft Center was renamed Lyndon B. Johnson Space Center by Public Law 93-8. The late President's interest in support of the space program began while he was chairman of the Senate Committee on Aeronautical and Space Sciences and continued during his tenure as Vice President and President. Now we have space-related birthdays. This is KE5ICX. On February 11, 1960, was the birth of Richard Allen Rick Mastricchio. I never pronounce his name. Mastricchio, very popular astronaut, by the way. An American engineer mission specialist from 1996 to 2015. He was on 4 space flights for 227 days in flight. STS-106, 118, 131, and TMA-11M. On February 13, 1923, was the birth of Charles Yeager, premier American test pilot, first person to break the sound barrier, flew all of the pioneering jet and rocket planes in the 1950s. By the 1990s, he had flown 201 types of military aircraft with more than 14,000 flying hours. On February 13, 1942, Donald Edward Williams was born. He was an American test pilot from 78 to 90 in 2 space flights at STS-51D and STS-34. On February 14, 1947, Pham Tuan was born. He was a Vietnamese pilot cosmonaut from 1979 to 80. Air Force pilot, participated in the Vietnam War. He was Major General of the Vietnam Air Force. 1 space flight of 7.9 days, flew on Soyuz 37. On February 15, 1935, was the birth of Dr. Roger Bruce Chaffee. He was the astronaut who was killed in the Apollo 1 fire. He was an astronaut from 1963 to 67. We also have on February 15, 1944, the birth of Alexander Serebrov. He was an engineer cosmonaut with 10 spacewalks, 372 cumulative days in space. He flew on Soyuz T7, T8, TM8, and TM17. one is birth of Leland Devon Lee Melvin. This is one of my favorite astronaut pictures. I put it up. It's one of several they took in a series of him. He has a picture of himself in his space shuttle flight suit, and his two dogs, Jake and Scout, are there in the picture with him. I just love this picture. He had 2 space flights for 23.6 days, flew to orbit on STS-122 and 129. And then finally, Michael Ray Mance was born on February 16, 1953. He was an American engineer, military spaceflight engineer, astronaut from 1982 and 87. I guess he did not fly in any missions. 82 to 87, so he must have been on some of the military. Maybe military, I don't know. I don't have any missions for him, so I guess he did not fly. I'll put the back and look. My mistake. All right, that's it for me on all of that. Let's see. Time for me to rest my voice, and it's time for Chaz. Chaz, it's your turn for Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week.
Thank you, Tom. I'm glad your voice is holding out. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week from almost its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look of one particular constellation each week. Those are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total constellations. So Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is Lepus, the Hare. So Lepus, the Hare, is an ancient constellation that is considered to be the prey that Orion the Hunter and his 2 hunting dogs, Canis Major and Canis Minor, are pursuing in the sky. Slide Master, slide number 19. The most important part of Skynet is about ready to happen. So what do 2 rabbits say before they eat? Lettuce, that's like the type that you put on a sandwich. Let us pray. Get it? Oh. What's the difference between a healthy rabbit and an odd rabbit? One is a fit bunny, the other is a bit funny. I had to practice that a few times. What airline do English rabbits use? British Airways. What do you call 100 rabbits walking backwards? A receding hairline. What type of mathematics are rabbits the best at? Oh, come on now. We need Billy, our mathematician here. Of course, they're best at multiplication. How many magicians does it take to pull a rabbit out of a hat? Just one. That's a trick question. Oh, come on, that was funny. And I have a bonus one. What do you call a rabbit with fleas? That would be Bugs Bunny. Slide Master, slide number 20, please. Gamma Lepus is the easily split double star. It can be seen in as a double star even at low power. Burnham's Celestial Handbook calls the pair of stars an easy and appealing object even for the smallest telescopes. But some sources say that Gamma Lepus can even be split with binoculars, earning it a position in the Astronomical League Binocular Double Star Club. I'll need to try that sometime myself. In an 8-inch telescope, the primary star looks white and the yellow-white companion. Burnham's Celestial Handbook notes that the star's proper motion through space closely matches that of Sirius, so perhaps Orion's great hunting dog really is pursuing the Hare through the sky. Heinz Crimson Star, R. Lepus, is, well, let me quote from the Constellation of the Month article in a Task Spectrum newsletter. Heinz Crimson Star is a carbon star. Such stars have a high amount of carbon in them. The carbon removes a little bit of blue light that radiates from the stars, so These stars shine with a deep red color. The stars appear to be very red in an 8-inch scope, although it's not as red as Herschel's Garnet star and Cepheus. Heinz star appears to be more orange rather than red. Slide Master, slide number 21, please. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. M79 is the only Messier object in Lepus. It's a globular cluster. Walter Scott Houston notes that M79 is visible in binoculars under good dark sky conditions, so it is definitely a candidate for the Binocular Messier Club. Even so, Burnham's Celestial Handbook notes that M79 is not one of the more brilliant globulars and becomes a truly impressive object only in rather large telescopes. Indeed, in his book, The Messier Object, Stephen James Amir writes that at Oak Ridge Station at Harvard, Massachusetts, he once turned a 16-inch reflector toward M79 and resolved it down to its core. In an 8-inch scope, M79 looks nice, but it's obvious that there's more aperture that is needed. Slide Master, slide number 22, please. NGC 2017 is an open cluster near Alpha Leporis. Although originally identified as an open cluster, it's now believed to be a multiple star system. It looks like 4 bright stars with some fainter ones around it. The bright stars are notable for their variation in color, and you may be able to see, to make out some of them, orange, yellow, white, and a blue-white in color. Slide Master, slide number 23, please. IC 418. It's also known as the Spirograph Nebula. Now, by the way, IC stands for Index Catalog, but most of the time IC means you can't see them easily. So IC 418, the Spirograph Nebula, is not very easy to find because it is so small, which makes it look like a star at low powers. In spite of this, you may be able to see IC 418 in just a 50-millimeter finder scope, but it looks like a dot. Walter Scott Houston, in his Deep Sky Wonders column, writes that because of its 9th magnitude central star, this object is readily visible in 7x50 binoculars. In an 8-inch scope at low power, it still looks stellar, which, if you use an 18-millimeter eyepiece, which giving it over 100 magnification, it can be just a little bit of width and actual stars in the field of view focused to the points. In the Hubble Space Telescope photograph of IC 418, the internal structure of IC 418 is reminiscent of the spirograph drawing. All of you had those, didn't you? Yeah. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 24. Okay, Tom, get ready. I only have 2 more slides. There are a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Lepus, the Hare. I've just given you a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 75 different observing programs, most of which have around 100 objects. If you observe just 10 of the different objects in the observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen in about a year. Slide Master, slide number 25, and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Lepus, the Hare. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on the deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now, next time I'll take a look at Auriga, or Riga, I've heard it pronounced both ways, the charioteer or the shepherd. It could be either one. And this is KF5JHA, sending it back to the hoarse but still audible Tom, KE5ICX. 73, everyone.
Thank you, Jazz. And yes, I'm a little hoarse. Of course. Okay, this is KE5ICX. I'll go ahead and take additional check-ins now, and then I'll go probably to our last segment this evening. If you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign, phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
Kilo Bravo 9, 0 Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth.
picked up one more. KB9SOK, Sean in Fort Worth. I think he's getting ready for the next net. But at any rate, here we go. All right, we have some launches for next week, for this week too, I guess. Well, actually next week. Today is the last day of the week. February 23rd, Falcon 9 will launch a Starlink 6-1. This is the batch of Starlink Internet satellites that will launch from Cape Canaveral Space Force, SLC-40. This is the first mission to launch the new larger Starlink spacecraft designed as Starlink V2 Mini. Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. February 23rd, 24th, Soyuz MS-23 will launch from Baikonur Cosmodrome, Kazakhstan. This is an uncrewed spacecraft, which was originally supposed to carry Russian commander Oleg Pomenenko and Russian flight engineer Nikolai Chubb, but NASA astronaut Laurel O'Hara, but managers removed the crew from the mission in order to use the Soyuz MS-23 spacecraft as a replacement for the damaged Soyuz MS-22 docked at the space station. The rocket will fly in the Soyuz 2.1A configuration. On February 26th, there'll be a launch with a crew of 6 from Launch Complex 39A on a SpaceX Falcon 9 with Crew Dragon spacecraft on the program's 9th flight with astronauts. The first stage will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. Astronauts are Stephen Bowen, Warren Woody Holbert, UAE astronaut Sultan Nayati, Russian cosmonaut Andrei Bedyov will launch on the Crew Dragon spacecraft to begin a 6-month expedition to the International Space Station. The Dragon crew will return to splashdown at sea. Late February, Falcon 9 Starlink 2-7 will launch. This is from Vandenberg Space Force Base, SLC-4E. Will deploy Starlink satellites into a high inclination orbit, inclining 70 degrees to the equator. Falcon 9 first stage will land on a drone ship in the Pacific Ocean. And I'll give this last one, and we'll move on. March 1st will be a Falcon 9 launch. 40 satellites into orbit for OneWeb. This will be from SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral in Florida. Is be deploying hundreds of satellites in low Earth orbit for low latency broadband communications. This will be the 3rd launch of OneWeb satellites to SpaceX and the 17th launch overall. The Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. All right, let's see here. I'm going to skip the recent astronomical discoveries. I'll save that for next week in case we need to. It's about more on black holes, but oh well. Let's see. We have next is space passages. The International Space Station really doesn't have any good passes. Tiangong 1 does have several. That's the Chinese space station with 3 cannons on board, I believe. February 25th is a good pass at minus 1.5 magnitude at 6:13 in the morning, reaches its highest point at 6:15 at 50 degrees, and falls to the east at 6:19. February 26th, the next day, minus 0.5 magnitude, 5:16 a.m., reaches its highest point at 5:16 at 30 degrees. So it's coming out of shadow, and it will go to the east at 5:19. February 27th, minus 2.2 magnitude, 5:51 in the morning, out of the west-northwest, to reach its highest point, almost overhead at 87 degrees at 5:53, and it will fall to the southwest and eventually to east-southeast at 5:56. All right, let's go ahead and end it there. Find the rest of my script. 10:28. So this seems like a good time to call it quits. Tonight we had. Let me check everything everywhere. Well, I'll do this. I've got a minute to do. Is anyone else want to check in? Please come now with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from. Any final check-in? Tonight we had 29 hams participating on the air, and thanks to all those who checked in. By the way, that includes me. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m.
I'm completely operational, and all my circuits are functioning
on this
perfectly.
net.
Afterglow Movie Net.
We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at it, send an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can also follow topics of discussion about the net, astronomy in general, on Facebook, Twitter, and other, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to the pub website, w5fc.org, at the conclusion of this net. Till next Saturday night, this is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray Tom, and I'll be closing the net at 22:29 local time and returning the repeater for normal amateur use. We will be back in about 5 minutes. Bill, N5BB, are you still on frequency?
Yes, N5BB.
Bill, could you do me a favor? I'll be happy to read the synopses and everything to the net, but could you take the net this evening? I'm just about unable to speak anymore.
Well, I could, but I did not see it because I was way too busy a day. But yeah, I'll run the net. Do you want to participate or not?
Yeah, I can participate if you like. I can read the opener on the synopses, and then just check-ins and ask everybody what they thought about the net. And really, you don't have to have seen it. Just ask them what they thought. Well, you know the role. You know the whole thing.
Yes, I will run the net right now. So tell you what, why don't we wait about 5 minutes, and then I'll start Afterglow. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that's fine by me. I need to take a little break myself. So, yeah, well, we'll come back in 5 minutes, and thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem, Tom. It'll be a long 5 minutes. So somewhere like 5 to 8 minutes from now, we will start the Afterglow net. We're going to be talking about Stargate Origins, Catherine, from 2018. And I've got different I'm going to be interested in whether Catherine's spelled with a C or a K, because I see it spelled two different ways here. Anyway, come back again in like 5 to 7 minutes for the Afterglow net. I will be net control. This is N5BB. See you in a few.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. And that may have been my fault. It's actually with a C, and they call her Cat throughout the movie, so that would have been easy if I had seen the movie ahead of time, but I hadn't. So Cat is C-A-T-H-E-R-I-N-E. All right, I'm going to take a break. I'll be back in 5 myself. Or 8, whatever. Countdown set 8 right now. See ya. KE5ICF.
Oh, I've got relatives, and there was confusion about whether their name was K or C, or whether it's Catherine with an I-N-E or a Y-N. So don't get me going about the spelling of Catherine. C and 5, N5BB. Okay. The wait is over. It's now time for the Afterglow Net. This is N5BB. I will be your net control tonight, even though I haven't seen more than 3 minutes of the movie. We're going to be talking about, the rest of you, Stargate Origins, Catherine with a C, which talks about how the Stargate was discovered in Egypt in 1938, I believe it was, and that the daughter of the discoverer is going to do something in the movie, which I haven't seen yet, so I don't know exactly what she does. I guess she goes through it to save her father or something. Anyway, you guys can tell me. Okay, before I get started, Tom, do you want to tell us what went on in this movie? This is in 5BB. How about it, Tom?
Yeah, I go ahead and read this. Actually, I probably need to read it because I didn't understand the second half of the movie. I think it's because I fell asleep. Here's what it is. It says a young Catherine Langford embarks on an adventure to unlock the mystery of the Stargate. In 1938, Catherine and her father examined the gate at a warehouse near Giza. Nazi cultist Wilhelm Bruch arrives with his team and takes them hostage. He reveals that he knows how to use the gate and forces Professor Langford to go through the gate with him. Catherine overpowers her guards and seeks the help of her friend, Captain James Beale and Watson, an Egyptian serving in the British Army, convincing them to go through the gate with her to rescue her father. They arrive in the temple in the desert on the planet Abydos. Is controlled by Aset, a demigod who was resurrected by Ra and rebelling against him. There they fight with Aset's female card, Serket, before meeting a young native named Costas. Catherine tries to activate the Stargate to return home, but lacks the right combination of symbols on the dial-up device. Group shows Aset a Nazi propaganda film and makes a deal with her that he will take powerful metal named Nakwada back to Earth in exchange for thousands of slaves, undesirable to the Nazi regime for her fight to overthrow Ra. Aset alienates the local tribesmen, her faithful servants, and demands one of them fight group soldier Stefan to death to prove their worth. After Stefan is close to defeat, Group kills him and the local man fighting him. Causes Eva, Group camera operator, to question the morality of her boss. Befriended by the native tribesmen, Catherine is taken to a hidden cave and shown the symbols which activate the Stargate from that end. Encouraged by Langford, who has been interpreting, Aset breaks with Group, who is killed by Ava, takes pity on Langford and Catherine and wipes their memories. She also brainwashes Kusef into return to his people as their new leader, and Catherine to assemble a team of people who return to the planet to overthrow Ra. Brought in court by Serket about Aset's defiance. You see what this is? Including her illegal Harsis child arrives, sends Serket to capture Catherine and her father, brainwashes Wasif and his Zidonian friend Motok to become his cards, and destroys the temple together with Aset. Captain Beale activates the Stargate and sends the Professor Langford and Catherine back home, but is killed by Serket. Back on Earth and having no memory of their adventures since before the Nazis arrived, Langford and Catherine wrap up their investigation of the Stargate as the U.S. takes possession of it. Catherine wonders about the nugget of strange metal in her possession and knows she'll be dealing with the Stargate again. And if you understood that, especially the last two paragraphs, you're a better person than me. Back to you, Bill, KE5ICX.
Okay, Tom, this is in 5BB, net control for the Afterglow Net. All I understand is that there's Egyptians, there's the Stargate, there's Nazis, bad things could happen, but somehow she pulls it out. Okay. Now, let's do check-ins. So I've already got Tom, KE5ICX. And Tom, I guess you saw the movie, right?
Yeah, some of it. Kind of, I think I did.
That's why I was asking you, because you seemed a little bit iffy on the movie. Okay. So, do we have other check-ins to Afterglow? Stargate Origins, Catherine. If so, please come now. I just need your call sign and your name, and whether you saw the movie. This is Inside BB, Net Control.
Whiskey 5, bacon, lettuce, tomato. W5BLT, Bill. Half the movie.
Kilo India 5, Juliet, Charlie, Mike. And I think several years ago, quite possibly while drunk, maybe.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. No, definitely not. Did not see the movie. Just trying to support Net Control for stepping in.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo to the Whiskey, J, no effort. I did it. Kilo India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf, Cruise. You didn't want it, but I'm from Arlington. Oh, and I saw it.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, shot in Fort Worth. Yes, I did see it.
Okay, let's see. We have W5BLT Bill, he saw it. KF5JCM, is that Thomas?
KI5JCM is Thomas, correct.
We got you, Thomas, and you saw it a long time ago. NT5TM, Tony, he's here, but he did not see it. KG5BZW, Jay saw it. KF5KWZ, Cruz saw it. KB9SOK, Sean saw it. Does anybody else want to check into the Afterglow net talking about Stargate Origins, Catherine? The 2018 flick for TV. This is Inside BB. Okay, that last station was too weak to be understood. Please try again and see if you can increase your power and your audio. Nothing heard. I thought it might have been Antonio, but I really couldn't tell. Does that the last station I heard was Sean, KB9SOK. Does anybody else want to check in to Afterglow Net? This is Inside BB, Net Control. Station trying to check in. We got about 2 seconds of carrier, but no audio. Do you want to try again? You're very weak. Okay, I think it's just not, you're just not making the repeater. Okay, one last try. Anybody want to check in for Afterglow Net before we start going through our discussion? One last try. Inside BB, Net Control. Okay. I'm going to go in reverse order. The last shall be first. Sean, KB9SOK. What did you think about the plot of this fine film, made for TV or whatever it is? KB9SOK and 5BB and the Afterglow Net. Tell us about the plot. Did you like it?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, I didn't realize this was a web series thing, and that explains a lot. Because after watching this, I felt like it was a fan-made film. To be quite honest, it's pretty poorly put together, to be quite honest. It was a little rough compared to the original movie, the TV series, and then the TV series movies. This was, I think, the worst of that came out of that canon, the Stargate canon that I've seen. The whole plot was kind of a mess. I guess their attempt was to explain, I guess, the drive Catherine had to put together the team and figure out what the gate did, which originally kicked off the series and the original movie. I think that was kind of the thought behind it, which necessarily wasn't, I'm not sure that it was really needed. And the way they kind of shoehorned it in to try to make it make sense was just kind of out there. It was, the whole Nazi thing and, her basically, trying to help her dad, and then the boyfriend that's supposed to be a soldier but then wasn't a very good soldier. Every part of this plot was just didn't make a whole lot of sense. Or really, a lot of it wasn't really needed. And you can just tell the thing was just not particularly well written. They tried to put some humor in there, which just didn't really work. This whole thing was just very strange. And to my knowledge, and maybe I've forgotten, I don't remember during the original series or even with the movie where Catherine even talked about having a piece of what the Stargate was made out of. So I'm not really sure why they brought that back. I realized, during this particular film, they were talking about how powerful that material could be used. It could be a weapon. Things could be built out of it. That was kind of the whole plot of the whole movie was the Nazis wanted to see, who built the gates and then hopefully get some kind of superior power from them, which I guess they basically did. But obviously the whole plan backfired on them. And, it was just very strange. It just, I don't know. This whole thing just wasn't necessary. And the whole relationship between her and her boyfriend made really no sense. He kind of really kept trying to put her down, basically, but yet she still liked him, and it just seems very strange. That part didn't make a lot of sense. The relationship between the Egyptian guy and then the natives of that planet, him deciding to stay there, that didn't really, that just seemed like that was just kind of thrown in there. So I can see Tom's confusion and everybody else's confusion on this one, because it was just like they tried to take some tiny bits and pieces of parts of the story throughout the history of the TV series and tried to just kind of sort of put it together in this film and try to make references to it, but it just didn't work, at least in my opinion anyway. This one was a little rough for me. And then, the whole ending, they wiped their memories, but yet left them with the thought that they needed to put together a team eventually to come back and destroy Iran, which they did. But I don't know that really truly fits into how the movie started out. So it was just very odd that that's what they decided to do. So clearly this did feel like a fan film, and that explains it, knowing that it was a web series. So I'll send it back here, see what everybody else thought of it. This is KB9SOK.
Well, thank you, Sean. This is N5BB. So Sean says, strange and confusing. Okay. Next, Cruise, KI5KWZ. Think about the plot, Sean, Cruise. Did you like it? Was it confusing? KI5KWZ and 5BB after Ludet.
KI5, KWG. I did not really enjoy this film. I watched the original Stargate series. Part of my Sunday afternoon routine was to come home from church and nap on the couch. And Stargate was always on. And so I knew the premise of the Stargate. And I remember there was some of the early ones where they kind of explained how to use the code to get back home, which was part of the problem, I guess part of the plot for this one. And it was told much better in the original episode. Let me reset. And part of that was that when you're trying to do a backstory to explain something that's coming, you know, that your audience probably knows is coming, it's kind of strange to at the same time be anachronistic. And they basically took 21st century characters and relationships and set them in 1938, and it was kind of glaring. And also the fact that they knew too much about the Stargate. They understood too much intuitively, which they didn't, and the 21st century characters didn't understand so intuitively in the original series. What made this, and one other comment, I wrote it down here, was the hypnotic suggestion was unnecessary that they gave Catherine at the end of the film to have her go put together a team. Her own experiences, had they not wiped her mind, would have had her relay her concerns to the proper authorities, I guess. But when I read after watching it that they put this thing together from a whole season of episodes, they just took clips and formed a film out of it. That explained a lot of the convoluted aspects of it for me. I think that's what I've got on plot a little bit more that's related when we get to the characters. KI5, KWG, back to net. And thanks, Bill, for filling in.
Okay, thank you, Cruz. I'm looking here at the Wikipedia page. It said the series was 10 episodes, each 10 minutes in length. A 104-minute-long feature-cut film titled Stargate Origins Catherine, and acting as a film, was released in 2018. So it sounds like there were 10-minute episodes that were edited together. Oh, maybe that explains some of the confusion. Okay. So, J, KG5BZW. You think it was confusing, Jay? What you think about it? How about the plot? This is in 5BB.
KG5BZW on Echoic. I didn't quite find it confusing. I just didn't think quite a bit of it didn't really make sense to begin with, and there wasn't really any way to resolve those things. From the way Catherine didn't understand the pseudo-Coptic or whatever language that were presented with when they traversed to the other world. She went from that and in a few minutes she was kind of speaking almost natively. It didn't. There's just other things that just really I don't. As I said before, I just don't make sense. There's no really any real easy resolution. So, if there was something, some sort of resolution that was like on the surface, you could find. I say it would be confusing, but I think it's pretty clear that there's just no way to resolve it. So it's like, okay, that's we're just gotta accept this, we gotta accept that, we gotta, you know. It does make sense that this was made from a series. There's so many places where it seems slow and fast, and well, I don't know if there was a place where it was really fast. It was slow and more slow. I kind of got the overall gist they were going for. I felt like it was. I was almost wondering if ChatGPT or some early variant was used to create the script or something. It's like this. I don't know, man. Oh, it's some strange reason though. It did not. I did not hate it. It was just very tiring. Part of that was to be on my TV decided to refuse to show what time was remaining, but also at the same time because it seemed to be confused itself, the application. I was also getting it mostly ad-free, so I kind of didn't want to uninvoke the bug, you know. Anyway, beside the point, I don't know if there's anything really or anything like that. It was a movie. It was kind of I don't know. I think I said my 2 cents. KG5EZW, back to that.
This is the Afterglow Net, run by the Dallas Amateur Radio Club. Although you do not need to be a member of any club to participate. This is inside BB net control. So Jay says, is it over now? He looks at his clock. Come on, is it over now? Is it over? Come on, let it be over. He was bored. He was tired. Time for it to be over. Tony, you did not see it. Do you want to participate in this discussion? NT5TM inside BB.
Well, I want to cheer everyone on. Thank you for being here. Tom, I know it's been a tough night, and thank you, everyone, for sharing your comments. You are often very important for my movie-going experience. Sometimes you help me have fun and catch on to things in the movie that I missed. In this case, what you're telling me is that it's good that I was too busy, because this was not my time. So yeah, I have some friends who are really big fans of the whole Stargate universe. They would probably have understood everything that happens because they've watched every possible spin-off. They probably have commemorative action figures, but I don't. So this seems like not the movie for me, and yeah, really nothing to add. NT5TM.
Okie dokie. So, next, Thomas, KI5JCM. You said you probably saw it years ago. Is this jogging any of the memory cells? Or did you like the plot? Thomas, KI5JCM, N5BB, AfterglowNet.
KI5JCM. I love the original movie, the TV series. About the time they got to the movies, they were the dragon for ideas. How many shows have we seen with that one last season where they recast some of the main cast members and try to keep it running? Wings comes to mind. I said I think for this, I believe I made a drinking game out of something, of every time something stupid happened. And as I said, I probably saw it drunk. So that probably explains I just remember this being boring and this essentially being the worst of all the last desperate cash grabs from what used to be my favorite series. Other than that, not much to say. KI5JCM, back to you in 5BB.
Well, very good, Thomas. Bill, W5BLT. What'd you think about the plot? Did you like the thing? In 5BB.
Oh, I feel like I'm on the witness stand and being cross-examined. I didn't have a lot to say last week because I was pretty tired, and this movie made me tired. I got halfway through, and I was hoping you all on this fine net could convince me that it would be worth hitting the pause button again to resume the movie, but alas, I don't think that's going to be possible. I hated it. I felt like I'd seen the plot other places in other movies, and amazingly enough, it seemed like I've seen these scenes before. It was hard for me to get into the Stargate series, and hopefully nobody takes offense to that. I watched probably 2 or 3 movies, and we did watch a movie a year ago, I think, maybe a year and a half ago, and it was really good. I think probably my problem is I had watched some of the cash grab last gasps of it, and so it's kind of soured me on it, so I'll have to go back and watch it from the very beginning. But in this movie, I would watch it in spurts, and I kept finding other things to watch. Barnabas Jones, Quincy, other things, Bengali, just all kinds of other stuff. And then I'd go back and watch 10 or 15 minutes and try to slog through this thing. It just seemed rambling, I don't know, strangely put together, which now, based on the Wikipedia page, makes a lot of sense. So watching paint dry was definitely more exciting than this movie. W5BLT, back to you, Bill, on net control.
Well, very good, Bill. So Bill says watching this is like watching paint dry. Well, that's not a very strong recommendation. Tom, KE5ICX, you got anything to say about the plot of this thing? This is in 5BB, Afterglow Net.
Yeah, thank you, Bill, and thank you for doing the net this evening. I appreciate it, and my voice appreciates it, too. I was trying to figure out why I hated this thing so much, and I think I have a reason. Number one, it's supposed to be Stargate. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Stargate. I don't have to see, and I have not seen the vast majority of the episodes. I've probably seen, what was the thing on the air, 7 years, something like that? I've probably seen maybe 15 episodes, and I've seen a couple of the movies compliments to this net, and I've enjoyed it. I think my favorite out of my lightweight viewing was Stargate Universe, which did not make it, or maybe it did. I think it did go 2 seasons, but I thought it was fairly well done. The problem with this was, and it's really kind of amazing because it's an origin story, takes place kind of picks up before the movie, which I thought was very entertaining, although it too was a little confusing, but not like this. Ancient Egypt and the ancient astronaut thing, and that vibe was supposed to be there, but it just didn't work. It was plodding and slow, and it took forever for scenes to complete, just a lot of exposition that meant nothing, and I didn't care about the characters, and we can talk about not caring about the characters in the next round. But overall, it was just very flat. Started out promising, except that I thought it was interesting that when you're doing an excavation, that the first thing you do is what might be a fragile ring thing that's sitting on the ground horizontally. You're going to lift it up naturally to a vertical position, How do we know that that's not how it was supposed to be in the first place? And why would they lift it to a vertical position if it had already fallen over into a horizontal position? I mean, if you're an archaeologist, the last thing you want to do is that, I would think, is move it into an unnatural position when you know nothing about it. But that's what they did. Maybe they had seen too many episodes of SG-1 and just figured that was the way it was supposed to be. I love naughty Nazis in movies, and this one had them, and even the character who played whatever his name was, we'll talk about him, I guess, the next round. I thought he was entertaining, but he got old after a while like everybody else did. They just kept talking and talking and talking. Nothing ever really happened, and that's the problem. I think this is true because it was a web series. They didn't have a lot of money, and they went ahead and it did the bare minimum, and boy, did it show. It's like going and writing something for your creative writing class, and you do the bare minimum with so many words in it, and you say, here it is, and you write some narrative that you've heard a million times before. That's what it felt like. Now, I'm going to say, I'm not going to let them off the hook easily by saying it's a web series. I've seen some really good web series, not the least of which was Battlestar Galactica, the new series, and Blood and Chrome, which was a prequel, much like this was a prequel, about the old Battlestar Galactica in its prime, before it was retired, and then all the stuff that happened in the contemporary series from 2004, I think it was. Very entertaining, backstory stuff like what you have here. A good, and it had episodic parts to it. It ran over an hour and 15 minutes, had all the elements you would expect for a web series and a potential, and they did not have a huge budget for that, but they managed to do really well on the special effects to fill in the details. It was fine. In fact, it was entertaining. I had a copy here at home, and I watch it from time to time because I like it. It's an origin story, which is what this thing should have been, and it wasn't. Another example of this is from, and they've stopped doing it, but the first 3 seasons of Star Trek Discovery, which in and of itself is not that good of a series. I watch it like it's a train wreck. But in their case, their little mini episodes, which were anywhere from 15 minutes to 25 minutes long, web series episodes were actually better than the television show because they had to tell a story in that relatively short period of time, and they would concentrate on some minor characters. There's even a Star Trek Strange New World thing there where they're on the Enterprise, the reimagined Enterprise, and that crew, before they actually did the series, was very entertaining. Single source episodes with the hardcore fence and mud and all that. It worked. It worked really well, and I'll watch those over any of the Discovery shows. Again, a web series that works. So that's no excuse for it not to work, and it failed because they made each of these episodes retread old ground, which is really annoying. So if you're going to do the series, do it with the idea that you're telling a story, that you're not doing a web series, and let the frickin' person who's watching it figure it out. I don't care. They released these episodes. Let me reset. Looks like they released these episodes 2 and 3 at a time. So that's like 10 and 20 minutes, so 20 minutes and 30 minutes, half hour. You should be able to tell a coherent story in a half an hour, and leave it as a cliffhanger or something like that, and come back and watch it the following week and see 2 more episodes or 3 more episodes. Easy peasy. But that's not what they did, and I think that it just plodded along because, well, we got to retread some of the things that we've already said. We got to make sure the characters are firmly understood by the people, and it just made for really bad storytelling. Don't do that. Don't dumb it down. Don't make your audience have to pay for this. And then lastly, this thing never ended. I kept looking at my watch. I kept saying, I could go to bed, but I got to do this thing on Saturday night. And it just kept going and going and going, and when I think the last scene is done, we have another scene. And I think that scene's done, and there's another scene. If you're looking for a way out, it's not good. And this was not good. And it started out looking promising, and it went downhill from there. That's it for me, Bill, on this round. KE5, ICS.
Well, thank you, Tom. Do we have any other additional check-ins to the Afterglow net? We're talking about Stargate Origins, Catherine, a 2018 web movie. This is in 5BB. Afterglow net looking for check-ins. Nothing heard. Again, I have not seen this movie, but I'm looking at the Wikipedia plot, and it's talking about brainwashing. It's talking about wiping people's memories. It says, back on Earth and having no memory of their adventures since before the Nazis arrived, Langford and Catherine wrap up their investigation of the Stargate. As the U.S. takes possession of it, Catherine wonders about the nugget of strange metal in her possession and knows she'll be dealing with the Stargate again. Lame plot device. It's either amnesia or it's time travel so you forget everything, or in this case, it's wiping your memory. Oh my. Lame, 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 lame. Excuse my comment, but that's what I believe. Okay, now let's go back to characterization. Sean, KB9SOK, what do you think about characterization, the acting, the directing, things like that? This is in 5BB, Afterglow.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, this film, I've seen much better web series too. Being a fan of the Stargate, shows and the movies, and pretty much, I enjoyed everything except for this one. So, Tony, tell your friends don't watch this, even if they are Stargate fans. It is really bad. And the characterization isn't any better than the story plot, unfortunately. But a lot of that has to do with the story. Because in the original movie and series, we get the impression that even Catherine is this very, intelligent, researcher, and you don't really get that feeling in this movie. It just, she seems kind of clueless most of the time through this, other than, she just, obviously wants to run things, but she doesn't really, she doesn't come across like she does in the series. And that's unfortunate, because this could have been something good, had telling, what happened, because in the original movie and even in the series, we don't know much of what happened to the gate after it was found until they finally actually figured out what it was for. So there was a lot of years that there's really not much known about the gate. So they had an opportunity where they could have told some stories of, figuring things out. So I wasn't happy with her character at all, because I expected it to be portrayed quite a bit different. So that was kind of disappointing. I don't necessarily think it was, her acting was bad. I just don't think she had anything to work with. Her boyfriend, don't remember his name. He's supposed to be a soldier, but he didn't seem very much like a very good soldier. He was completely just an entire wimp of this thing. It was just a completely throwaway character. And if you've watched the series, you probably don't want to date Catherine, because obviously in this one, her boyfriend dies, and in the series, they do tell a story of where, at some point in time, her future boyfriend does figure out how to turn on the gate, and he gets lost on another planet for many, many years till she finds him later. But we won't get into that because it has nothing to do with this. But once again, it does seem like you'd want to date her. They had Nazi. I guess, it was a believable Nazi. I agree. His character got a little old after a while, and just kind of over the top, even for a Nazi. And then his assistants, or his soldiers, they were not very good soldiers either. So, yeah, this whole thing was just very weird. Because a lot of the characters were definitely just throwaway. There wasn't a whole lot. You definitely didn't want to invest any time in them. And I was the same. I was waiting for this thing to get over with. Her father was okay, I guess, but once again, not much there. I wish I'm trying to think of something decent to say about one of the characters, but there's not a whole lot there to work with. It just seems strange. Yeah, this whole thing was just, I don't know. It was definitely was not a good web series. So I'm just repeating myself. So I'll send it back to that. KB9S, okay.
Very good, Sean. Cruz, KI5KWG. What'd you think about their characterization, the acting, the directing, things like that? N5BB.
KI5KWG. Well, starting with the cowardly army captain, there was no point in that. This was filmed in order, and I noticed this in a few others. It always comes off as they say, well, congratulations, you've got the part. Here's the script. We begin filming in 5 minutes. They were so unprepared, and they spent all that time on character development, dragging this movie start, and it was because they needed to develop their characters. And it got better, I don't know, probably in 30, 40, probably about 45 minutes. It seemed like they kind of had an idea of who they were portraying and kind of fell into playing the roles. But the start of it, that was just miserable. So filming in order, I guess maybe again because of the way it seems to have been put together into a film, that was by necessity. But I think it shows us there's some wisdom to letting the actors understand their characters better before you start doing the relationship parts. I guess that's what I've got for this. KI5KWG, back to net.
Very good, Cruz. Jay, what did you think about the characterization, the acting, the directing? This is N5BB, after Goliath.
KG5BZW. Well, the movie, the first few minutes, I thought actually gave some hint of good things to come. I actually wish they had developed that character a little bit more. Now there's a lot I wish they had done with the characters, honestly. It seemed like a good start for the universe they're trying to develop, and then things just kind of, in some ways, you had to accept some things that didn't, just didn't really make sense, like I said before. But it's a Stargate movie. Even the great first movie, you had that. So that's part of the course for a Stargate thing. As the stories went on, I really it is like forgive me, I forgot your name, but the previous guy said that the characters just it was kind of like they figured out what they were doing in the middle of it, but what the strangest thing is, it seems like they kind of like wait. What are we doing? I don't know. There's just these tangents or not tangents, these tinges of knowledge of what this character is supposed to be, and then just kind of dissolves. I don't know. Part of it's just me being tired of watching the thing and just not really just caring. I have a feeling that the actors just had the same feeling just acting the thing. Rick happened to be overly evil that I don't know. There's not much that you could do to resurrect that character. They made him so evil that he was incompetent. So I don't know. I get the feeling that the actor stopped caring about it, and so many of the characters, I'm just kind of the professor, but then that's because I often kind of like professor characters for whatever dumb reason. Catherine had some good there, and then I stopped caring once they had her doing stuff that didn't make sense for a character like the boss should have been the interlocutor between those on the opposite side of the Stargate, and they should have developed that more. But that they wanted Catherine because apparently maybe they carried their board or something, or is part of the style of the thing. So whatever. There's just so much about this. When Raw came down, it was like everybody seems to be in that whatever kind of zone. I got this job to do. We'll get this done. All right, wrap. I've said my words with as little emotion as possible, or whatever, and we'll just wrap up. And I've probably I've said more than I really need to say about this. I've just got into that. KG5BCW back to that.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Tony, NT5TM, any comments about characterization or acting or anything else? NT5TM, N5BB, Afterglow.net.
No, thank you, but nothing to add. NT5TM.
Very good. Thomas, KF5JCM. Any comments about the characterization, the acting, the directing, N5BB?
KI5JCM, they were boring, and it's never good in a movie when you're watching. You're kind of rooting for the bad guys. Other than that, not much to say. KI5JCM, back to net.
Very good, thank you. N5BLT, Bill, what'd you think about the characterization, acting, directing? N5BB, Nick Control.
Whiskey 5, bacon, lettuce, tomato. Well, I was confused. And you know, when you're a blind guy watching paint dry, there's no sound. And this movie, like I said, ranks right up there. You know, so it was confusing to me in the movie with Catherine because that, you know, seemed like she was getting taken hostage. You know, she couldn't defend herself against the Nazis, and then she was, I think, beating people up or, you know, trying to go back in and rescue her dad. I don't know. I was just thoroughly confused by this movie. And usually the dialogue as a blind guy I can follow and I can get into the characters. This movie was just very confusing, so I felt nothing for these characters, for the guy that she was going back through the Stargate with. I think, obviously her dad who discovered the Stargate. I can remember the first Stargate movie, and I had some idea about the characters and cared about them. These guys, I just didn't. If this was my first exposure to Stargate, I would run away. So I obviously, since it was spliced together and things like that, I don't think they did a lot of character development, and it was just poorly done. So I won't beat a dead horse. W5 BLT. Back to net control.
Very good. Thank you, Bill. I think we're getting down near the end here. Tom, K5ICX. What do you think about the characterization, the acting, directing? N5BB, net control for Afterglow Net.
This is KE5ICX. I didn't think much of any of them or any of those things. And I think everybody kind of agrees along the way. Now, they had some actors that were good, and they had some pretty terrible ones. I mean, we know we've got Paul Langford, Professor Paul Langford, played by Connor Trenier, who I listened to the voice, and he sounds familiar, and I realized he was from Enterprise. He played Trip on Enterprise. He pretty much played a Professor Trip in this one, so there wasn't much in the way of acting above and beyond what you would expect from him. At least, well, never mind. I don't want to go on a tangent, but it has to do with Star Trek actors. Most of the time, the TV ones are not very good until this year. So that's a whole other story. And he fit into the not very good part of that. I liked Brooke as the high-ranking Nazi officer. He was fun. But then he was like the guy who wouldn't leave. You got a party, and you go, he's the life of the party. You want to know all about him, and he's in your house, and he won't leave. It's 2 o'clock in the evening, and people won't leave, and he's still there. And you say, well, the stories were interesting, but I got to go to bed, Wilhelm, and I'm tired of your stories. That's how I felt, because I was thinking, I need to go to bed, and Wilhelm's still telling his story about the great Nazi stuff. So that really just is just kind of a big blah. The captain, who cares? Nobody cares. Wasif was pretty good. He was lieutenant who could interpret as the native Egyptian. He was fine, and I think was it Kusef? He was, the two of them were kind of entertaining, and then the big surprise reveal later on. I think, whoever the reincarnated God was. What was the thing with that stupid mask? I didn't understand that. I felt like I was at Mardi Gras or something. Let me reset. I guess it was the headset. And he was just sort of... And then, when you're going to protect a godlike character like that, aren't you supposed to have more than 2 people to do that? And that thing out in the middle of the desert, I mean, I guess it had great parking and all that, but why what do these people do all day except bore each other to death in an audience? At least it should have been near a gas station or something, or a convenience store so you could pick up supplies, but none of that. And I went up into the spaceship thing, pyramid, wherever, and down. And they go up and down in that thing and never explain why. Where'd they go? I don't know. Does anybody care? No. So those things were kind of thin. I think tough characters. Some of the plotting characterizations, like the German fast car guy, he was there. He was really kind of tiring too. Not very smart. And you got this senior guy who's running around, running everything, the occultist. You couldn't find some decent help. I mean, check the Daily Shopper, you get some decent people, but that guy was terrible. Rest of the characters quite unremarkable. When you compare and contrast with the original movie and see that, well, it had to tell a story, and the comic book wanted that, it was still much better. The acting was much stronger, of course, the movie. And, of course, the TV series, any given episode had better acting in it. And this just fell flat. So could have been the direction, may have not have been sufficient to help pull it together. But definitely the exposition drags this thing down so the characters are boring and you're looking at your watch and they're looking at their watches. Everybody's looking at their watches waiting for the catering truck to show up. That's what it felt like, that's what it looked like, and that's what it became. Back to you, Bill, KE5ICX.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Do we have any additional check-ins for the Afterglow Net? Stargate Origins, Catherine. This is N5BB, Net Control. Okay. Now, does anybody have any additional comments before we close the net? Does anybody want to say anything else about this net? Want to respond to something somebody said? Is there something you forgot until now you want to say? Anything at all you want to bring up about the net? Special effects, the music, anything at all? The photography, cinematography? Anything at all you want to say? It's time to say it now. Come now with your call sign only, N5BB, Afterglow Net.
Don't hate me. Kilo India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf.
KE5ICX.
Got Cruz and Tom. Cruz, we would never hate you. Go right ahead, Cruz. What did you just think of? Let us know. We care. KI5, KWG, and 5BB.
KI5, KWG, yeah, I know everybody wants to go to bed. But I had a thought, and for those that might not be familiar with the Stargate, the whole premise is that it opens up a wormhole, and you go through time and space almost instantaneously to another planet, light years away. And so you go, well, how can that be possible? Well, they never explain that. And I wonder, do they have any mass? Is that how it is? That they somehow enter that liquid pool vertical and suddenly have no mass? And you go, well, how could you possibly know? Well, like if you were in space and in orbit, you wouldn't have any weight, but you would still have mass, and how could you calculate that? I'm sure Bill's on to me by now. And back in Skylab, they actually had to figure that out, and what they did is they put things on a device that was held, a little tray held together, or held in place by springs all around it. And you'd give it a little shake, and the period of oscillation would be dependent upon the mass. And so using some optics to count those oscillations as they slowed, they could directly convert that to the actual real mass and give a readout almost instantaneously. That's how you could know. Bill's shaking his head. This is KI5 KWG, back to net.
Oh, very good. Tom, K5ICX, what say you? And by BB.
All right, well, my parting shot on this is the fact that this was digitally produced in 2018, which by 2018 we had some pretty good work that could be done digitally to create world building on a pretty darn good scale. We didn't get any of that with this thing. appears to be done on the cheap. This is supposedly done by, who was it, some digital effects group with MGM, at least in name. And I found it somewhat unbelievable. There was not a lot of real imagination that went into this thing. I thought that the opening sequence and that, the lighting and everything was really great. It seemed that it started out like it was going to be kind of an Indiana Jones type of adventure, and I was waiting for it. I thought, this is going to be great. And then the gal in the Halloween mask, or the whatever the hell that was she was wearing, and then I realized, uh-oh, we're in trouble. And then the stupid jewel box that they lived in. I mean, that square thing sitting out, as I mentioned earlier, that was stupid. And then everybody lives in a big frickin' tent, which is, you know, like got 3 things in it, 4 people. It just, geez, the digital department should have been able to enhance that stuff. It made it look bigger and better, but it reminds me of maybe a soap opera or a bad Star Trek from the 1960s. The whole production thing just did not hold. Music was incidentally, okay, not really, didn't do much. I just thought my whole thing was this was pretty much uninspired. And they had a great premise, and they could have done something with it. I'm guessing this was supposed to be a TV series of some sort, and they relegated it to web series or something. I don't know. But in all cases, it wore me down because it was just not well done. And none of it really held together very well, except for the first 3 minutes of the thing, and then after that it was over. Back to you, Bill. KE5IC.
Very good, Tom. Okay, do we have any last comments before I close the net? This is N5BB Afterglow Net. Any last comments or check-ins? Okay, after 1 hour, I am closing this net. Tom, what's going on next week on Afterglow? KE5ICX and 5BB.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. And I will send this out to the usual suspects in the morning. I'm going to mix it up a little bit, and I'm going to change the order. Since we lost Raquel Welch this week, I thought I would advance 1 million years BC as next week's movie in honor or dishonor of her for next week's movie from KE5IC.
Oh, that's a very good choice. Haven't seen that in a long time, and Raquel Welch's passing has been all over the news here. So, a lot of things about her career, which was a very long career. Thank you very much, Tom. Okay, good night, everybody. I'll close the net. We will see you next week, and have a very good week. This is N5BB. Good night.